We've all heard now so much about Harry Dunn, and yet none of us really know what your son was really like. Just tell our viewers about your boy, Harry, who we've all been reading about because of this tragedy, but obviously led a very fulfilling life until that point.
Yeah, this is always an easy question to answer. He was just a very big-hearted lad. Had the opportunity to go to university, looked at two, but his passion for riding actually overtook all of that. He decided to go for a full-time job. He worked 5 or 6 days a week, and any money that he could earn to put in his motorbike, that's exactly what he done. Outside of that, he would notice when you had a bit of a bad day. He would be there to give you a bear hug. If you weren't home when he got home, he would text you to see how your day had been. He would do anything for anybody. He really would do anything for anybody. He was just a big-hearted boy.
It's completely heartbreaking, Charlotte. Tim, I've got 3 sons. One is 19, exactly the same age that Harry was when this happened. I can't even imagine the agony, the torment that you've gone through as a family since he died. But I can only imagine that agony has been exacerbated and worsened by this failure by the system to give you any kind of closure on exactly what happened.
Yes, I mean, it really has. We, like Charlotte said at the start, we thought it was going to be a quite open and shut case. We knew the car was in the wrong side of the road, and Harry had just come up over the hill, and she was there, and he couldn't miss her. And then the police sort of spoke to her, and she admitted it, and we just assumed it was going to be quite an easy case, and it would be sorted, and Harry would get his justice. But then for her to then get up and leave, it was just like he died again. It ripped your heart out. It was awful. And this is why we've come to do this, to get justice for him, because it's just really hurts just because she could just leave and go. And we need to keep going what we're doing to try and get this justice for him.
We've been saying all along since we started out on this journey that we do still want to meet her, but we've said all along that it needs to be on UK soil, and she needs to come back to the UK to face our justice system so that we can get justice for Harry. We don't want a meeting on US soil where she currently remains hidden and have his death swept under the carpet. And we feel if we'd have had, you know, a little meeting with her today, that maybe they would have hoped that that would have been enough for us. But it may well have been enough for us right at the beginning, but we are 7 weeks in. You know, we're 7 weeks into not being able to grieve for our son. His twin is 7 weeks into having lost and been robbed of his twinship. Why has it taken until now? You know, and when we do meet her, or when we do hope to meet her, it needs to be under, you know, controlled circumstances. You know, I don't believe that would have been good for her, let alone us today. You know, we need to be in a room with therapists and mediators, and all of us need to be prepared for that. It's not really very fair that it was sprung on us like that.
Charlotte, your eloquence and your dignity and your strength, both of you, has been absolutely extraordinary. And it's captured, I think, the hearts of everyone in Britain, but also many Americans I speak to. The feeling I get from American friends, almost everyone I've spoken to shares your anger and feels this is just inherently wrong. And they completely accept that if it was the other way round, they would feel as incensed as you do. If this was the reverse situation, and we had a British diplomat's wife had done this to an American boy on American soil and then left, there would have been outrage in America. But there was a moment of real humanity when you, at the end, took President Trump's hand and you talked directly to the most powerful man on earth. Just talk me through what happened.
It was during the main meeting. I spoke directly to him for a good few minutes. He did seem sincere. He did seem to listen to me very well. He didn't try to interrupt me or cut me off. I explained to him how much grief we've got locked away and how we feel that it was very inhumane for her to have left the UK and come back to the USA. I wanted answers as to who made that decision, why did they think that that was the right decision, when she actually left, what date she actually left. Unfortunately, I didn't get any of those answers, but at the end of the meeting, when we were all leaving the room, he shook all of our hands again and I was last in line. And it was actually him that took my hand, and I squeezed it very tight. And I said to him, look, you need to see that, you know, if this was your son, surely you would be doing the same thing. You'd be trying to get justice for him. And he agreed with me and he said, yes. He said, yes, I would. And I said, so please, please, just do the right thing. Just please, just try. And he squeezed my hand back and he said that he would try to push another way forward. He would try to look at this from another angle, is what he said. I don't really know what he meant by that. I don't know what timescale we're expecting on whatever other angle he's going to look into. But it felt sincere enough for me to be able to feel that we'd come out with a little positive. But if I'm totally honest, I don't hold out too much hope.
How are you going to be left feeling if she simply doesn't come back and this is left forever open-ended?
I think we're just going to be forever disappointed, forever disgusted in both the UK and the US governments. You know, it just doesn't make sense to us as to why on earth this should be allowed to happen. It should have been a very clear-cut case. But we promised Harry in the hospital that night after we'd lost him. We stayed with him for as long as we could. And we promised that we'd try and get justice for him, thinking it was going to be simple. Didn't embark on this without putting some really good thought into it. And he would have done the same for any one of us. He always stood up for his rights, and we owe it to him to honour him and do our absolute best to get justice for Harry. And if that doesn't come in the way we want it, then we will continue to work and we will try and get those diplomatic immunity laws looked at. They were drawn up in the 60s. They are so very, very outdated. Hardly any cars on the road back then. So a terrible accident, as it's now keeping on being called, would have been very unlikely to happen in the 60s. Things are very different now. And we will fight to get those laws looked at and changed, because we don't want any other families going through what we are currently going through at the moment, and we're all going to need an awful lot of help.
Tim, as Harry's father, what was it like seeing Harry's mum holding the hands of the president and appealing to him as a father to do something? And then when you hear that he would look at it from another angle, what do you hope that might mean in your fight for justice for your son?
To be honest, Charlotte was so strong. You know, I was so proud of her, the way she spoke to the president yesterday. I don't think he dared interrupt her. She was spoke so well. He just listened so so greatly at her. It was just such a thing to behold and see. It was amazing. So when he did that and to say that, I'd like to think he's an honourable man, and I'd like to think that he will try another avenue, hopefully to help us.
But where do you just go now, do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, you know, Piers, we take it a day at a time and sometimes an hour at a time. And you can see now, I mean, it's just the most inspiring thing working with this family. And this woman to my left is our leader, and she's leading the way. And I'm simply here to support and guide, but I look to her for leadership, and she is the most incredible leader I've ever worked with. She's got a steely determination, but a respectful and gracious approach to all this. There's no ranting or raving, but she is not going to let this die. And there are a number of options that we can pursue through dialogue. As we were there today, you know, we didn't ask for the meeting. President Trump asked for the meeting. We dropped everything and raced down to Washington. So we believe dialogue is good, both here in London and in Washington. But Piers, be under no illusion that we have a number of legal options open to us to try and get justice for Harry. We don't want to do that, but behind the scenes, and the country is not aware of that, but there is an awful lot of work going on preparing major legal proceedings on both sides of the Atlantic. Now, we think that we strongly believe that this lady did not have immunity. She should not have gone, and she should come back. And let's forget the law. You know, Piers, I think I've read your column. You, like me, just look at it very simply. You cannot have a situation where the wife of a diplomat goes to another country, ends up in a terrible collision, albeit accidentally, you know, somebody loses their life, and then you just skip the country. I mean, if that's what we've come to, then, you know, God help us all.
I think it's outrageous. I really think it's outrageous. And I think
I'm with you. That's the word. Yeah, that's the word that I continue to use. And so my connection is, you know, Piers, I've got a 19-year-old son like you, but my 19-year-old son was very good friends with Harry. We live about 500 yards down the road. And he said, Dad, can you just go knock on the door, because I think there's a problem. And I walked in, and that was, I guess, about 4 weeks ago. And we haven't stopped since, because I could just see the injustice. And, you know, I just happened to have the skill set to take it on. But
well, you've done a great job.
Piers, whichever.
I was going to say, Reid, you've done a great job, I think, helping the family. But you're quite right that Charlotte, your strength here, your steely determination, your lack of over-emotion, the fact you stick rigidly to what you believe is this burning injustice, that is what is so powerful. Let me just end by asking you this, Charlotte. If you had the chance, and she might be watching this interview, for all we know, Anne Sacoolas, she's a mother of 3 children herself. If you could talk to her mother to mother, what would you say to her?
I would just ask her to get on the plane and do the humane thing, do the right thing, set her children a good example. We raised our children to be as honest as the day is long. Her children must be suffering. We believe 2 of them were in the car. Can't imagine what they must be going through either. She needs to do the right thing and make that decision herself to get back on the plane and come back to the UK and meet us on UK soil and face what she's actually done and see the devastation that she's caused.